Squires, Comic King here, out for a little errand run this morning. I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe doing this series of videos. We'll see. Just to, generate more content for you guys who deserve it. But, just more like maybe talks with the king or drives with the king. If you have any good names, definitely drop a comment, down below. Because I'm thinking about just maybe doing videos once a week where, if I'm driving or whatever, I just kind of do a little, I don't know if it'll be news with the king where I'll talk about stuff coming up or, what's going on. But, I'm still figuring out what schedule of kind of content I want to give you guys. I thought about it. It's really easy, once, I like casually talking. That's a thing, if I have like a friend or whatever, I'm usually talking to them and it's like bounce off conversation. I know that's not the same via this platform or YouTube or anything like that, but talking to myself, I guess, all my imaginary friends. I'm kidding. I'm definitely crazy. But just casually talking about what I'm looking forward to, what comic book news or comic book related news is out, movies, video games, just media in general, what's going on in that side of the world. But yeah, I may do a video a week like that. But there also is a future video coming within the next, it's no time soon, within the next 2 weeks, about what my schedule, what kind of videos I'll be releasing every week, because I'm figuring out camera stuff, and I'm actually moving here in a couple days for the time being, and I'm gonna pre-film a couple stuff to drop ahead of time and stuff, but it'll be in a transition, so there may even be a little time where I don't have anything, but I'm definitely, my plan is to film as much stuff as I can to drop while the transition is going, because I'm moving and I have a certain activity situation coming up that will be very busy in. But once that won't last for too long. But once I'm in the new location, things start settling down, getting into more of a routine and schedule that's consistent. I definitely upload a video like what my YouTube schedule or drop schedule might be. I'm thinking, a review a week, maybe a comic book review a week, a movie review a week, maybe a news drop. We'll see. And I have an idea. I have like a general plan of like, this is that outline that I want to do minimum each week, right? Maybe like 3 or 4 videos during the week, maybe nothing on the weekend, minimum of no matter what, you'll get those stuff. But then also there may be a week where there'll be more content, like, if some big comic book news comes up, or I read something else that I have to talk about immediately, or maybe surprise videos, or, I really want to start making some fun fan films with some of my friends and stuff, and I have a couple ideas. I love film, right? I just love movies. I'd love to do something fun like that, something, a special occasion in that manner, or you catch the drift. If there may be a week I have more stuff, not reactions or like reaction channels where this upload never, but I'll have that set schedule, and then I'll also have maybe a couple videos each week that like just spur of the moment, and I talk about extra videos for y'all that's not part of the minimum content I do each week, if that makes sense. I think you get it once you get started. But I definitely probably do a video of maybe what I'll be covering on the channel. Once I have in my new location, I'll do make a setup and everything that's pretty consistent, and definitely get in the schedule and stuff. And the reason y'all have had a bunch of Berserk reviews and stuff, though I've been real busy, and I'm just figuring the camera stuff out, right? So I filmed a lot of I just filmed a crap ton of videos in that location. Just spur them up, just figuring out, they were all 4K. You probably saw that, 380/40 by 2160 aspect ratio. 30 frames per second still, but it took forever to upload. But I didn't know that. I know way more about camera stuff now, which is good. If I want to make fan films and things like that, I got the 4K camera. I think I wanted the highest quality, but now that I know way more, I'm definitely gonna be like 1080p from now on for just general videos, and it'll probably be way easier and stuff like that, and upload more and things like that. But I just filmed a bunch. That's why you've had like a bunch of drops throughout this past week. It's just because I filmed a lot ahead of time and have been doing drops daily, because I have all that content I filmed. And that's just because I wanted to talk about it right away and get videos out to y'all as soon as I could right away. But just dropping all that with how much stuff going on within the next 2 weeks, once I'm in that routine and schedule, it'll definitely be much more consistent, like what drops each week and stuff like that. I just, with how much stuff I had going on, and just figuring out the game too, I just made as much content as I could. But figuring it out, I actually love Adobe Premiere Pro now. It's, I'm always gonna be learning on that thing, man. It's crazy. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. There may be another like Talk with the King or something like that. What's that? Talk with the King? I mean, I did News the King. I might make that for like more of like short videos, just talking. But definitely I might do Talk the King of the Week or something, or KingTalk, or who knows. But where I just kind of talk more about what's going on in the life. I'm a king, right? Get the pump. Let me get a pump here a little bit. It's down. But yeah, I just want to get that out there. There may be another one. The videos coming soon. Whenever I move, I might do a video while I'm moving. We're talking, the news and stuff. But anyway, I just thought I wanted to make that announcement that video will come in the next like 2 weeks or so. That what's going on and new setup and things like that. But I'll definitely, to pass the time, I'll definitely film some content reviews for y'all. And for example, this is gonna be video and stuff. And y'all get the point, Squires. But anyway, I just want to talk about some stuff. So I went with my friend Bree. I was so upset. My buddy, one of my best friends, he just moved back to school, and I wanted him to go with me because he hadn't seen it yet. But he said, "Don't worry, go see it." I'm like, all right, I'll go see it. But big Quentin Tarantino fan. About almost 2 years ago, which is crazy to believe, I did a marathon, which is really chill. Whatever was on like Netflix and HBO Max at the time. And so I've seen both Kill Bill movies, Pulp Fiction, the director's cut of Hateful Eight, which is like the Maxi series on Netflix. What else I saw? Reservoir Dogs, Django Unchained, and I think that was it in that group. But the only ones left I hadn't seen was Death Blow, I believe it's called, Inglourious Bastards, and Jackie Brown. And and I've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've seen that too. But those were the three that I hadn't seen yet, just because they weren't on any streaming service at the time. I saw Jackie Brown on Max not so long ago. I gotta check. I need to watch that. That's next. But from talking with all my friends and all that, all of them said their favorite was Inglourious Bastards. And that was at the top of my list, like trying to see, but it wasn't on any streaming services at the time. I'm like, I have to see it. I really want to see it. A year and a half goes by, busy, other movies and stuff, and it's been at the top of my list for a long time. Well, my buddy will point out, we were looking in our cinema in our hometown. They have like flashback cinema. I believe. I know sometimes Alamo Draft Houses do that more frequently. It's more of a thing there. But flashback, it's like they have a list of movies a month where I think every Sunday and Wednesday they'll play a movie, right? Older movie. Well, he was looking, and they were playing Inglourious Bastards on the big screen. We were like, what? He couldn't go see it. I wish he was, but my friend Bree was able to go with me. And it was, oh my God, it was awesome. I wouldn't say, I'm so glad for the first time, I've been waiting to see it, right? I haven't seen it on the streaming services, but, how often you get to say like a movie like that, like the first time you get to see it is on the big screen, because I'm definitely part of the younger generation. That's awesome. The first time I got to see it was on the big screen. I loved it. I thought it's Tarantino, man. Come on, it's going to be great. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Like all his films, it went a completely different way than what I thought it was going to go. All of my friends, that's their favorite. I think Django Unchained is still my favorite, which is funny because I think Django Unchained, in my opinion, might be his most straightforward movie in a way, just like complete linear story. Still Tarantino, but I think that still might be my favorite. This is definitely up there, though. I think my favorite right now, it'll shift all the time, but I think my two favorites is Django and then Kill Bill Volume 1. Kill Bill Volume 1 just blew me away. I think those two movies are fantastic. But I think Inglourious Bastards is probably number 3 or 4, because then I'd say like Pulp Fiction is tied with it. But yeah, it was great. I loved it. I may talk a little bit of spoilers, but I may make a review. I made a little short for, I'll comment down below. And I know it's, figuring out and stuff, but I may do a little review, and still comment down below if it's something you want was to review that movie. I know it's kind of random, and it's randomized right now, but once I get that set up, like I mentioned, and have that like schedule, I have idea of like I want to do kind of like series reviews, right? So like, you know, maybe for a couple of weeks or a month, like for a comic book series, because you know, okay, let me get this out of the way. I know it's tangents, a lot of side conversations, but for comic books, I think I'm only gonna do, you know, talk about it in trade format or current runs, or you know, runs, you know, comic book runs, or like hardbacks or one and done graphic novels and stuff like that. Because you know, like all comic book collectors, I collect issues. However, going to school, I definitely collected single issues. That was what I read the most as a kid. I mean, graphic novels, I always read trades and stuff. Got those for my birthday. And collected editions are great just because you get the full story. But you know, my dad, huge comic collector, he got me into trades and stuff, and then he got me into reading single issues. And I collected. I'm a big, you know, Batman, Superman, my two guys. So those were always the guys I collected single issues most. But you know, I collected Fantastic Four for a little bit, Avengers for a little bit. I did them all for a little bit, right? Green Lantern for a bit. Green Lantern's my third favorite. But after the Jeff Johns run, I was never, and that's a video for another day, but well, you know, it's KingTalk, right? You talk about whatever, go on any tangent, but like Green Lantern, Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run is what got me in that character, and that's one of my favorite comic runs of all time. And that's probably arguably the best Green Lantern run. But afterwards, you know, Robert Venditti, I think, came on, and some other people came on, and they're fantastic writers, but I was never with the Green Lantern books because it felt like the same thing over and over again. Oh man, it's a lot of smoke on that track. It was the same thing kind of over and over again, right? So that's Sinestro Corps, the bad guys again, just redoing it. And so I just kind of, after Jeff Johns, I was like, man, y'all just doing the same thing over and over again. But the only Green Lantern run that I've read that I had interest in picking up, this is one of my favorite writers, and it was actually something different. That's why I liked it. A lot of people didn't, but Grant Morrison's Green Lantern run that came out, and it's actually kind of old now. I mean, it came out in 2018, which is hard to believe. It still feels newer, but time flies, right? It ended a while ago. But that run was awesome. I'm definitely the minority for that, but I loved it because it was something different, you know. Supposedly the new Green Lantern run right now is going to be pretty good under Donna DCU. But anyway, what I mean by like series reviews is like, for example, let's say I have my setup, make a video like what I want coming out, right? For like movies, and be like, hey, I'll do like, and of course, like if it's a new movie I want to see, I'll probably review that and I'll be upload like immediately kind of thing, or an immediate upload. But I'll do series reviews like, you know, let's review the Tarantino movies, and I'll have like one Tarantino movie review like a week or something, or the Nolan movies a week, or stuff like that. And for comic books, I may be like, you know, I have an idea, I really want to talk about the James Gunn stuff coming up with his new DCU. His slate, you know, announcement was based off, he did a comic book run or a graphic novel or a series or a certain story of each movie is going to be based off, right? And that'll be two separate videos of like, you know, talking about what I think more in depth about his stuff coming up. I'm pretty pumped, but also skeptical, right? And but you know, I may do like a comic review, like, hey, you know, James Gunn's mentioned these movies are based off these stories. I'll do a review of these stories. You know, same thing, like maybe 1 or 2 videos a week for those, for each book in that series, if you get what I'm saying. Or like, you know, I may do like, hey, I may do like a run a week where, you know, I'll go buy whatever the collected edition is, right? Because, you know, I used to do single issues, but watching other YouTube channels, and the best at doing this by far is Comic Pop. They're the greatest YouTube channel on YouTube. Go subscribe to them right now. Comic Pop, been a fan of them for like almost 10 years now, since the beginning, since they started, like TV Little House. One of my favorite YouTube channels of all time, probably is my favorite YouTube channel. Love those guys, but they have, you know, Off the Rack, their show. They're the only YouTube channel I've seen to successfully talk about single issues that drop every week. And that's really hard to do. I think in my predicament right now, with school and stuff, that'd be too hard. But also, I kind of, you know, I don't read as many single issues as I used to in the current, you know, me being in school, and it's a lot hard, you know, moving around and stuff. It's way hard to get subscriptions, right? So I usually wait for the trade. there's certain runs, like no matter what, I at my local store, I have, I pick up every couple of months. I collect Batman. It sucks and it's really sad. I may stop just because, money and stuff, gotta save. But I think just watching other YouTube channels, it is incredibly hard, super hard, and it's just really difficult to sustain a series on a YouTube channel talking about new releases in single issue format every week, right? And it's impossible to cover everything. And you can do it, but oh my god, that would be your whole life. For me, the big two, I just keep talking about maybe predominantly Marvel and DC, but I'm a big Image fan too, right? And so I'll definitely talk about a lot of one and done stories too. But they're the only YouTube channel to successfully do that every week. But again, they don't talk about every issue. They talk about the stuff that cares, the stories they're into, the stuff they care about, right? The series they want to talk about. I would be the same way if I did something like that. But for right now, I don't want to do just watch other two YouTube channels. In my predicament, I can't really at the moment. I don't really want to talk about single issue, weekly. I don't want to, but who knows? I may do that if I'm in a spot. I may pick a run if I really like and I'm up to date and stuff, which is super rare now. I may be like, hey, I'll talk about this issue. Every issue comes out until this run's done, or this author is done on this book, or whatever, right? I may do that, may do something like that in the future, but I'm going to be based in my videos off of collected editions, because, moving around and stuff, I'm definitely much more in the, I'm not a big digital reader, but when it comes to comics, I'm much more waiting for the trade if it's something I really want to check out or something. But really, to save money, if I was ever getting single issues, it'd just be like the Batman runs, either Batman or Detective, because it's just too much to collect everything. Like whenever I was a kid, want to get everything and collect everything and stuff, and it's too much to read each of those issues every week, and it's just easier waiting for the trades when I'm on a break or weekend or something, reading the book then. You know what I mean? But for comic book reviews, manga is super easy because I just talked about Berserk with the deluxe editions and stuff. I want to talk Berserk by the arc, and then my sister's currently reading it. I want to do spoiler reviews with her. It may be a while just because I'm moving and stuff before y'all get that first video, but also the last video and the conviction arc just uploaded. Go check them out. Those videos were hard figuring out 4K. They're I love it. Go like those videos, watch them. They're fun. But I just also want to let y'all know those are not, of course, the last Berserk videos. I'm going to be reading other content, moving and stuff, but y'all will I'll be doing on-spoiler reviews of the Falcon Millennium arc before you know it, right? And, and I just want you to know, Berserk will never leave this channel. That's become one of my favorite series of all time. I'll be talking about Berserk content whenever I get a chance, or if there's something new or news, even after I've read the series and stuff like that. There'll definitely be fun uploads. If I get a friend to read it, what he thinks, I'll definitely get his reviews or whatever. And my sister, I want to do fun spoiler reviews with her. So maybe when I come back for breaks or whatever, we'll definitely film that for y'all. It'll be a lot of fun. Because don't worry, strugglers, I got you, strugglers. But anyway, manga, it's easier because I can do by for example, Berserk, I want to do by the arc. Maybe when I get close to the end, because volume 14 is coming out in November, I may do the hardback, just review that book. But then certain other mangas I may do by arc, or I may do by the Tankimons, or that's easier. Or graphic novels, American comic books, I'll be doing, as I said a million times, sorry if I repeat myself, I'll do by the collected editions, but they may depend, right? Depending on how a certain run or certain series is currently in print, right? For example, I'll be doing I want to start off with a current run for y'all who are wanting to get into comic books right now. Chip Zdarsky is the current writer on Batman, right? I want to get something right out of the gate, what's coming out right now, because I want to recommend get you on the books. That's easier because since that's what's the Batman series that's out right now, that's going to be the easiest for y'all to get into right now, right? Maybe something current. Maybe I always do with friends and stuff. Say, hey, go back and read the big stories. There's pluses and minuses to that, right? One of my best friends, he's definitely getting into more reading and stuff, and for Batman, just so you know, there's gonna be a lot. Batman's my guy. Batman, Superman, right? There's gonna be a lot of just Batman, Superman interviews. This, I'm definitely talking about comic books and stuff, but every channel, again, Comic Pop is the best at talking about everything. But even, I know Tiffany, she does a lot of more than independent, but there aren't as many uploads as the mainstream books, right? Even the mainstream, it's more A tier characters when they do reviews or back issues and stuff. I'm the same way. I'm much more of an A tier guy, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna be doing a lot of, I want to talk about comic books and talk about all things. But if it's not a character I'm like big on, or like a certain run or series or book I want to read, you're probably not going to get that review. I'll definitely do suggestions and stuff, but there's definitely so much content I want to talk about to y'all. But there may be, just like every comic book channel that tends towards, like every YouTube channel tends towards one big genre or subject or character or whatever medium, right? One of my other favorite YouTube channels of all time is the Film Junkie. Dave, love your videos, keep it up, man. You're awesome. A lot of his stuff, he's pop cultural channel, which I want mine to be like pop culture, comic book related channel. A lot of his stuff leans towards the Zack Snyder stuff. That's like always the main talking point you have in the background after he talks about other current stuff going on, right? I'm going to be the same way with like Batman or Berserk or Superman or the Avengers, or especially X-Men or whatever, Justice League. It'll definitely be like, that will always be the back burner of the main thing, right? But it doesn't mean I won't have a video review of like, an image book or, an independent book not a lot of people heard of, or a manga, or, just because I do a lot of Batman uploads does not mean you're not going to get a video about like Doctor Strange, So y'all catch my drift. But yeah, one of my friends got him into comic books, also a huge Batman fan. I'd start off, of course, like Batman Year One, just the big hitters, right? Not really in big, kind of in continuity order, but not really, just the big hitters of stories within continuity, right? Like I got Year One, Death in the Family, DKR, Dark Knight Returns, of course, The Killing Joke, the big ones. But sometimes for new readers, going into a comic book store, it is so daunting. It is incredibly intimidating because you don't know where to start. Well, you take Stan Lee's advice. The best way to start is, every comic book is someone's first comic book, right? And I think the best two ways to start is, you read the big stories, and if you really like them, you're gonna have the drive and urge to go look into research and figure out like, hey, what do I want to read? You look into more books, and then you figure it out as you go. That's what I did, right? Start off with trades, big stories, and then I realized, man, I want to get more into this character. Just the more stories you pick up, you realize where and you figure out what continuity is. You figure out what that character's continuity is, what other stories, where each story fits in their continuity. The canon event, stuff like that, right? Pretty easy stuff. But sometimes that's if you're really intrigued, but sometimes reading the big stories, that it doesn't help with that, and they won't go back. I love my friend. I got him the big stories, but he's not reading currently and stuff like that. But he still goes in. He'll just get the big stories collected and stuff like that. I got him in. He's a big Alan Moore fan now. But stuff like that, right? But it's just different for everyone. But the other way to get into it is you just go in and pick what you want, right? Like I went to the comic book store. One of my first issues that I ever got was like the New 52 Action Comics issue like 27 or something. No, like 37, right? And I was kind of like, I just picked it up. That was one of my first subscription books, but like one of my first comic books was just like, I picked up like Red Lantern's number like 2, right? Issue 2. And just like read it. It was smack in the middle of a story. For some of it, I didn't know what was going on, but it was still like a lot of fun. And then you figure out like, hey, I like this. Let me go back to the beginning and figure out reading the pieces, right? Sometimes like, for book series, you just pick up a book off the shelf and you didn't realize it's in a series, or, it's kind of like that. Sometimes both entry points in the comics, they intersect, they mingle, right? Where, let's say I go pick up like, I don't know, Batman Hush, for example. I really like this. I get that off Amazon or like Barnes & Noble, Books A Million or whatever. Just pick up the trade and read it. That's the awesome thing about trades, right? Is that it's a one-done story. It's the best entry way in my opinion. Let's say I just pick up the trade, then I go on a comic book issue. I'm like, man, I really love Batman. I love that story. Let me just pick up an issue of Batman. That's how you start. Every comic's the first, and the thing is with getting in comics, if you don't know anything, is you just kind of dive in and, head in the game, don't know what's going on, and you figure it out because you just, you want to read everything. And so you figure out, people give you suggestions, like what's the best stories, but also you pick up a current run, you like it, and you fill in the pieces, go back to the beginning. Y'all get the point. I know I'm reiterating myself a lot, and y'all catch the drift. Stuff like that. That's why, like, I'm starting off with the current run and stuff, if y'all want to get into it, based off just what's off the collected editions, right? But, the collected editions always come out, collects whatever, the first 6 issues, 12, if it's like a deluxe edition or whatever, or like Marvel, their trade paperbacks usually collect the first 5, stuff like that. Whenever I review Chip Zdarsky's Batman run so far, it'll just be up to volume 2. Plus, I'm currently reading The Knight. I read issues 1 through 3 a year back, and I liked it okay. That's another topic I'll get into here in a second. But, I'm going to be reviewing his current stuff, but after volume 2, there's still issues after that's current, I believe. Sometimes it may not be the case. Sometimes it might be all the way caught up, depending on the release order, or if it's behind or stuff like that, or it may be, up to date. Y'all get the point. But then it doesn't mean, like, I'm definitely gonna do the bigger reviews. I think for me though, my channel's super young still. Like, my favorite graphic novels and stories of all time, like Year One, Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, The Killing Joke, Long Halloween, a bunch of other stories. That's something I kind of want to talk, those are the biggest stories. I'll definitely talk about them probably sooner, just because, like, talking about them, I want to get you all in the books, right? Talk about it now, you'll be like, hey, this is one of the greatest comic books of all time. You go and pick it up. Like, YouTube channel start off that way. But I want to do, maybe for my favorite books, and, it doesn't mean who knows? I'll figure it out, right? I definitely figure out what content I want to get for y'all. But for those bigger books, that doesn't mean I can't, I can't just do, there may not just be one video over it, right? Dark Knight Returns is my favorite graphic novel, favorite story of all time. I have to, I just don't want to do a basic review for that book, like, right now, right? But even if I do, like, let's say on the road, like, no, let me get this review out for y'all, doesn't mean, maybe I want to come back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do like a big spoiler review or a breakdown or whatever, because it's, it's one of my favorites. I want to, just do something different from some of the other comic book channels. I grew up with a lot of, Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns, a lot of movie YouTube channels. I've always had the idea of, like, reviewing a graphic novel or a comic book, manga, in the format of reviewing a movie. I feel like that'd be fun, just quick, like, hey, blah, 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 then do like a spoiler review. I haven't seen a lot of, usually comic book channels, they talk about the whole run or whatever, and I'll definitely do that, but I thought maybe doing it in a movie style review format would be definitely cool and definitely different for y'all, hopefully a breath of fresh air. That's the way I thought I was doing. Like, man, that was always an idea of mine. But yeah, those bigger books, I want to do, like, those mean so much to me. I think starting off right now, it's easy to start off by current runs or things that, like, I just read that even if I love, they may become one of my favorite stories of all time, or maybe not. It's harder with current stuff, right? Usually you don't know if this is great till sometimes, if it's special right on, like Scott Snyder's The Court of Owls. Like, I think when that started, everyone knew this was going to be something special. But that's super rare, right? Usually, like, a certain run or a certain book doesn't become acclaimed until much later on sometimes. But, or much more of a classic standing ground of other comics. But we'll see, we'll see. I definitely want to talk about those bigger books like crazy. But, I want to do some, movie review format, but definitely break down. And starting off, I think, like what I said, it's easier to start off with current or not as big stories and then build up to them, because I have so much to say, and those books mean so much to me, and so much, they've had such a huge impact on my life that I don't know if I can just sum it up in all words, like, right now. It's much easier for a much more modern story, or, but okay, yeah, that's kind of a hypocrite statement, because Berserk is definitely one of the greatest pieces of fiction I've ever read. That's such a huge impact, and I reviewed it right away. But we'll see. I'll definitely do more in-depth breakdowns of Berserk, because that will probably become my favorite series of all time. As a Batman guy, just consistent comic series, just Berserk. I mean, that's already changed my life in a little bit in terms of thinking of storytelling in the past year. But y'all get the point. Some of those other bigger books, it'd be maybe a little too much for me to talk right now, but more current ones, or more minuscule stories and stuff that are some of my favorites, but more easy to talk about, get y'all familiar. And I think it'd be fresh to talk about stories, because everyone talks about Year One, Dark Knight Returns, Long Halloween. Those are my favorite too. But there's a lot of other stories people don't really talk about too much. That I feel like if I do reviews and stuff, my goal is to get y'all into comics, right? And get y'all, loving the medium. Go support your local comic shop, get them off Amazon. That's my passion. Comic books and movies were my first two loves, But I want to get y'all into it. I want to give book recommendations, talk about something that's meaningful for me, that passion me. Hopefully I can bring that passion to you. That's something I would love to do. One of the biggest joys for me as a nerd into this, world, is like if I got someone else into that medium and they're reading it too and they love it just as much as me, or I got them into a book and now they're going to read books and telling me like, hey, I just read this, it was amazing, hey, go check this out, stuff like that. I love moments like that. I get that like with my sister a lot too, when she says like, hey, I just read this, or whatever. I'm just like, it means so much to me that like, hey, someone else is reading this, that's awesome, I can talk to them, or that's a very meaningful thing for me. It's much easier with film, and you look at the community Comic Pop has, it's amazing. Best YouTubers on YouTube, best community on YouTube. They've got so many people just in the comic books and into that love, and I want to do the same thing. It's inspired me a bit, but yeah, definitely do that, and maybe build up to bigger stories. We'll see. I'll definitely do give y'all some fun content, but anyway, that's a huge tangent aside. Oh man, hold up. Hit your caffeine in, your monster. Definitely not promoted. That would be amazing if I was. That'd be so awesome. But tangent aside, I know it's a huge information dump and I'm rambling. I get excited, but just want to talk about that. But doing the series reviews, I may do like the current run, like Chip Zdarsky, and then I may do like, hey, I may do like James Gunn, switch it around, maybe do orders of certain books and stuff people don't really think of, like, what's my headcanon of like the first 3 years of Batman, and I may do like 10 books that to me are like the first 3 years of Batman, like in continuity order for my headcanon, right? Because there's a continuity, everyone has their own headcanon of like what they like to be a main book and or a certain character, or what they don't, if they don't like it, sometimes people don't think like that's not canon for me. Even if it is canon, it may be like, I don't like that story. It's not in my, even if it's in continuity, it's not in my head canon of like where to start, right? Because for me, such a huge uber Batman nerd that I am, I have that, a head canon of what I think the first 3 years of Batman are before he gets, Dick Grayson, Robin with him. But yeah, I may do like a series like that, like what's these books, or I'll do videos of like top 10, or even if it's not a review of these books, I may do like what's my list. I'll definitely do that. Which one's better than the other? I probably won't compare it to that one, but definitely current runs. But the reviews will probably be more on like the trade paperback or the hardcover or certain run, whatever's out. Or if it's like I've really gotten into omnibuses lately. Like there may be some series I won't talk about. Like Berserk, I'm talking about arcs, or like for example, Chip Zdarsky's is going on right now. They'll be definitely talking about like each hardcover or stuff like that. Or if I have a certain series in trade paperback or hardcover, multiple hardcover forms, they'll be like that. But, I've gotten omnibuses. Omnibuses usually collect a whole run or whole event or whatever, right? So like, for example, I have the JLA Justice League Omnibus by Grant Morrison. I'm not going to review, maybe depending on the story, I might do like, certain arcs in there. I might have a video breakdown or what I really love about that arc or story and talk about it in that format and stuff. But like for like the movie review formats for comic book I mentioned, if it's like an omnibus, right, for that JLA by Grant Morrison, that review will probably be over that whole omnibus, that hardback, and pretty much over his whole run, and like a review over the whole run. But that doesn't mean like I may have like individual videos talking about like if that arc spoke to me, or if there was a certain story in JLA that I loved. I might have multiple videos of a certain omnibus, of certain story arcs. With the current trade paperbacks and hardcovers that come out like monthly and stuff, or yearly for certain runs that are current or that have only been collected in that format. Typically the arcs are broken down by the collected edition, right? But like, for like huge Grant Morrison fan. I'm just using him as an example, but New X-Men by Grant Morrison. I had all the trade paperbacks, right? I ended up selling them so I could buy the omnibus, which the whole run's in that one omnibus. But let's say if I still had the trade paperbacks, I may do a video of the whole run, reviewing the whole run, but I also may do a video of each arc or by each book. But since I have the whole omnibus now, I'll definitely do a review of just the whole omnibus, what I think of the whole run. That doesn't mean, there may be some that I don't want to talk about, like each individual arc, and it just may be that, but then there may be some I'll talk about each story, what I think, what it means to me, right? And I definitely want to have friends and guests on here. If they want to talk about comic books, there may be some duo reviews for movies and comic books, stuff like that. And I just turned up the AC. It's pretty hot in here. Getting excited moving around. But or maybe I'll have like someone on that never read it and like breaking down the story for them or whatever. I've been talking about how I want to format this for a long time. Y'all get the point. Stay tuned, Squires. I hope I'm not too nerding out on y'all too much, but yeah, there'll definitely be content coming out. I'm pumped up, and I know this is just me rambling, but yeah, I think I may have a series or video a week and maybe talk to KingTalk or News with the King or whatever, or I just tell y'all, just talking to my audience, talking to my community. I'd love to build a strong community with you guys, my Squires. But also, I was wanting to talk about, talked about that for a long time. But anyway, moving on. But one of the things they just dropped this a couple days ago, they just dropped, I'm not the biggest video game guy. I grew up playing video games and stuff, but getting so busy, just definitely proves how big of a nerd, I'd much rather read a book or hang out with friends and stuff. I definitely play much more video games or video games much more like party environments, Nintendo Switch and stuff. But I may have to get a console for this, but they just announced that they're doing a video game adaptation or, a game of TMNT The Last Ronin. I'm like, that's so awesome. That trailer, by the way, was bad fucking ass, man. It was awesome. The music and stuff. I can't wait. That's definitely a review coming very soon. I'm definitely going to reread it. I was real busy when I read it at the time, and I kind of read it on the road and stuff. Absolutely loved it. One of the best graphic novels I've read in a long time, especially as a TMNT fan. But I'm going to reread it. Definitely, that's a video I want to get up sooner rather than later. But like that story, guys, if you haven't read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, the premise is there's one turtle left. It's in the future. It's like a dark future. It's kind of like Kevin Eastman's version of The Dark Knight Returns for the turtles, and because the people don't realize the turtles in the comic books are way darker than the shows, right? And they have like a whole universe of like different multiverses of each iteration of the turtles, but they're way darker in the comics. And but anyway, this is like their last story, and the premise is let's spoil it. But it's in the dark. It's a dark future where 3 of the turtles died, and there's 1 turtle left, and he wields all their weapons. You don't know which turtle it is right away, and it's amazing. I definitely talked about it, but the game, the fact that they're making a game, I'm so glad people are like, figuring out the story. And this was a huge for turtle fans and IDW readers, which is the comic publisher. This is a huge thing when it came out, like especially that first issue. I know it was heavily delayed, with Kevin Eastman. I don't know if it's figuring out the art or the story, but I mean it's been out for a long time now. This complete story. It's been complete for a long time. But I feel like in the comic book world, it was a huge thing. But outside, more in the pop culture media, not a lot of people were talking about it and stuff. But with the game, especially the new movie, people talking about Turtle Mayhem is kind of back a little bit. I think people are talking about it, and I'm so happy it's becoming like more of a well-known story and bigger in pop culture and just a bigger thing, because damn is that book awesome. I'm so happy people are talking more about it. I would love a movie adaptation for that, either animated or live action. I think it'd be awesome. But that's a book I definitely talked about. But the game, I can't wait. It's definitely gonna be a long time probably before that comes out, but that will be pretty badass. And another thing I was want to talk about is, I guess I did a video not too long ago about the whole Wonder Woman situation. I guess it came out. I don't know if we don't know. That's why I want James Gunn to come out and give this is officially what's happening. I think he will. I think maybe they're gonna do that Comic-Con, but probably maybe with the writer strike, I assume they can't. I have no idea. But we, as fans, we need a video saying like, this is what's happening. I know he did the reveal of the chapters, right? But it's still kind of like ambiguous of what's being kept. It's just completely new universe, or I don't know. But I guess 1013 isn't being developed, or is as in Elseworlds, or I don't know. I think that interview with Gal, it came out and hit a storm with, Got in the World like about 2 weeks ago. But I think that interview was filmed a while back. If I'm not mistaken, it was a while ago that interview came out. But who knows? Personally, I mean, y'all know my opinion on it. I don't listen. If you recast the Batman Superman, you got to redo the whole Trinity, right? Just start fresh. New Diana, new Wonder Woman. I love Gal. She is Wonder Woman to me, but that doesn't mean we can't have other interpretations, right? I mean, look at Batman and Joker. Like, Batman's kind of become the modern James Bond, a little bit with how many actors portray him. But we'll see. Blue Beetle comes out this week. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see it right away with me moving. I'm busy. Definitely within the next month. Hopefully, if it survives in theaters that long, I'll definitely get to go see it. I'm just not going to be able to see it right away. But usually I'm there right away opening night. But unfortunately for Blue Beetle, I won't. That's not the case. But don't worry. I'm hoping I'll get to see it sooner rather than later, after I get through some of the stuff that's coming up. But apparently, for a while, it was part of the previous regime, right, with Hamada, that they were just kind of making random-ass DC movies, and not really having a plan. That's why, like, after Aquaman, it's kind of like random stuff. And, I was definitely denial for a long time, like, well, they're building out the universe. And they kind of were building it out, the Snyderverse and stuff, but it wasn't, you weren't getting Snyder movies and things like that. And it was kind of random. This was definitely part of the previous regime, and we'll see how Gunn deals with it or wraps it up. I heard a rumor that it's going to be folded into his DCU. It's technically the first, I guess, after Flash. I don't know. But, I wasn't too hyped for it. It just seemed like I'm kind of fatigued on some of the mediocre superhero content we've gotten, right? That just seems more generic. It's kind of like what I think of horror, right? I won't ever be taught superheroes, comic books, manga. That's my thing. Especially, I've gotten into manga the last year. It's refreshing because they're all single stories, But I will say it's like horror, right? You can't have the same thing over and over again. You got to reinvent the wheel a little bit. And even if you can't reinvent the wheel, maybe take a trope and do something different, do something new and intriguing with it, right? You have to, the best horror movies, like Talk to Me just came out, Raka, amazing, but also like Hereditary, the Ari Aster film. It's kind of like, it's a familiar idea, it's a familiar premise, like demons, possessive, or whatever, but they do a new take and they make something interesting and craft it different with the genre. It's a huge hit because it's not just a cliche jump scare kind of story that we've seen a million times, right? I think that's the same thing that maybe superheroes need to do. Also, personally, don't worry, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I'm not dissing on Marvel, and that'll be definitely another separate future video, like what I thought of Phase 4 or the current state of Marvel. But I honestly think Marvel should take a break. I'm not the biggest fan of what's currently going on in the MCU. But, I think a lot of people are fatigued. It's just not as good quality anymore because they're just pumping out so much. I think I think the studios need to take a back seat and then make something that's artful and, like, good, right? Instead of just the content. That's why I think, like, the Batman was so freaking amazing. Because they took their time making that movie and it's a good story. He wasn't worried about all this other stuff. And as a comic book fan, I love world building. I wish Matt Reeves, the Batman, was part of new DCU. That's my biggest gripe with new James Gunn stuff coming up, is I'm not the biggest fan of the whole Batman thing. I want Pattinson to be the main Batman, but it's okay. But we'll see. However, with Blue Beetle, though, I heard, I wasn't too much anticipated, but then there's some, they started releasing some clips that weren't in some trailers before, of some of the fight choreography. I'm like, damn, that looks awesome. That looks really good. Like, some of the fight choreography, it doesn't look like all like choppy or like CGI exposed. There's definitely special effects, but it looks a lot like hand to hand, like John Wick kind of style. I'm like, man, that looks awesome. And then supposedly reviews come in, they're saying it's pretty good. So now I'm a little bit more on the hype train, but I'm definitely excited to see it now. I'm a DC guy, so I'm intrigued to see what's going on. But anyway, guys, yeah, that's just the kind of current stuff I want to talk about. Thanks for hang out to talk with the king. Maybe I'll do like King Drive or something like that, or Drive the King, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. There's definitely an upload coming up. But don't forget to like. Thanks for staying with me, Squires. I hope this was, kind of looking bright to the future. The future is bright with some of the stuff I want to do. And thanks for being the best subscribers so far. And definitely keep a lookout for what's coming up. So, all right, Squires, Common King sign off. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and get the pulp.